After a disappointing season, what next for Danny Roll on the blue side of Glasgow as they watch their bitter City rivals win the league and also Hearts become a new force in Scottish football? Hello everybody and welcome back to Full House Sports. Here myself Charlie. A wonderful video starts to please like, comment and subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated as I try to become a one-man sports news bandwagon. Yes, it was quite something, really, this Scottish title race, but it wasn't for a change between Celtic and Rangers. And I think that's something that is good for Scottish football. I think it's good to see a new force emerge. Tony Bloom's sort of expertise in at Hearts, he's not the owner. I got corrected on that early this year. But I think his expertise coming in and this data-driven approach has massively changed things. And I think opened a lot of people's eyes as well to the possibilities in Scottish football. I think maybe Celtic and Rangers have not been sitting ducks, but have certainly, I think, had it for a while now where people have gone and wrote them off and said, well, you know, they'll win it anyway. It doesn't matter what we do. And I think he's come in and taken Hearts, of course, we're in the capital, Edinburgh, and sort of said to teams, no, this is possible. And Motherwell as well deserve a huge amount of credit. Their manager, who has come from Scandinavia, spoke about, I think this week, he's actually a manager I really admire. He spoke about as well, you know, look at what Bono Glimt have done in his home nation of Norway and how they've sort of upset the apple cart in terms of Molde and Rosenborg and clubs like that, the historical giants of Norwegian football, and saying, why can't Motherwell do that? I think Celtic won't be too worried because they are financially streets ahead of anyone else still, and will probably still go out there and try and secure a big name in the dugout, and B, do something in the transfer window to make sure that what happened this year doesn't happen again. But as for Rangers, I think it's worrying times. I myself, I'm not alive, I've said that on the channel before, I do follow Rangers. Out of the two, I prefer Rangers. And I think this season has been shambolic. And I said it to a friend of mine who's a Celtic fan, where the 49ers Enterprises came in at the start of the season and you thought, great, like this is brilliant, this is exactly what they needed. Finally, owners with ambition, owners who look at what they've done at Leeds, look at what they've built, this is going to be fantastic for the club. They've promised a lot and not delivered a great deal. And there was the first Russell Martin appointment, which I've got to say at the time I was easy with, I didn't mind, but it was disastrous from the start. And actually, Danny Roll deserves a tremendous amount of credit to even get Rangers to where they are, because Martin's start was disastrous, to be honest with you. And there's not a lot else that can be said about that one. And the arrogance as well of him meant that he was never going to last very long at Ibrox. Then, of course, there's the issue with Roll and Tav towards the end of the year, which I don't know where I stand on it, to be honest with you. I personally think he should have been given what he deserved. He's been a great servant to the club. He was a Premiership winning captain. He stuck with the club as well when times would have been easy for him to jump ship or look to go even down to the Championship to get big, probably better wages. But he stuck with Rangers. And even if he'd have came on against Hibs and come off after 30 minutes, at least he would have got the send-off he deserved. I wasn't a fan of that from Danny Roll, and I think that as well as stuck in a lot of Rangers fans' minds now. A club and fans who pride themselves, I like to think they do things the right way, and I don't think that was the right way, obviously. I think the big problem for Rangers, and one for me that I think they need to address in the summer, is experience. When Rangers last won the league, yes, there was some fantastic young players, but as well, there was experience there. I think one of the key players in that title win was Stephen Davis. He was 37, 38 at the time, but the experience he brought was so important. Then when you factor that in as well with lots of Jermaine Defoe, who I think probably went up because of Gerrard, but as well him, even players like Borna Barisic, who people forget, I think it's easy to forget, wasn't a young player when he was at Rangers. He was 28, 29 playing left back, and he was so pivotal in the title, the 55 winning title season. I think Rangers have got to address that in the summer, because I think there's a lot of players in that squad who, I think there's a lack of leaders. I think as well, there's players who, when they are on the big occasion, whether that be Tynecastle, we saw it there, or whether that be at Celtic Park the other week, they shrink when it's the big occasion. There's got to be players out there, free agents even, who they can go out and get and say, look, come up, because it's a massive club. You're going to be playing in front of 55,000 every week. They're a club that are verging on being a religion in terms of the way their fans follow them. Why don't you come up and watch? No, why don't you come up and play, in front of that and get to experience what a unique place Glasgow and Scotland is for football? Because I think signing a lot of these young players, yes, I get the player trading model and I get wanting to buy young and then sell on for a profit. That's what a club like Rangers now has to do. That's where they find themselves in the pecking order. However, there's got to be a balance there, I think, between that and then having leaders as well. Another thing as well that I don't think would go amiss, obviously there's the Shankland link still, but getting some Scottish Premiership experience in. Yes, it's great when these players are playing in Europe. I mean, Rangers weren't great in Europe this year, but when these players are playing in Europe and they look good, but there's also the factor of, when they're playing in I don't know, where Falkirk away. I know they would yesterday, but Falkirk or Dundee away, or even Easter Road away on a midweek night game. You need players with a bit of grit, and I think there's been almost a dirty look of, oh well, we won't want to sign anyone for the Scottish Premiership. But look at what like Ryan Jack did that season when Rangers won the title. He was so important because he was so up for the fight. And I think signing players like them as well to add that Scottish Premiership experience is really, really important. It'll be interesting to see who's sold as well, because they will probably have to sell to get players in. The Chimity's being linked away. I do think he's a good striker, but he's far too inconsistent for me. And also Fernandez, who has been one of the bright sparks. But I think getting players in who are leaders and getting players as well who have that Scottish Premiership experience won't go amiss. The managerial situation does have question marks over it. I am intrigued to see what Rangers decide to do about that, whether Roll sticks. Performances towards the end of the season have dived off a cliff, but I wonder if Rangers almost peaked too early, really, in that aspect, and almost went for it, when they got back in the title race. That was them almost punching themselves out, to use a boxing term. But they will have to try and come again, and I think it's a massive summit. I think the 49ers as well have got to try and prove now that what they said at the start of this year wasn't just, saying to the fans what they wanted to hear and actually was the truth. Because my worry is that they're idly sitting by and letting Rangers slowly lose, not just ground on Celtic, but as well, now Hearts are going to be a force maybe here to stay, especially with the likes of Tony Bloom involved. And I really like the Motherwell manager. I can't lie, there's part of me would like him at Rangers. I think he's fantastic. So it'll be interesting to see how that works and what happens. I think it's a massive summer for Rangers. As always, guys, let us know what you think. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated. As I try to become a one-man sports news bandwagon, as always, have a great day.